Good morning. Welcome along to Serious Social Life. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am super excited to be talking about a new report we've got out. You may have seen we had a new report launched last week. It's the Technology CMO Outlook Report. It's a free to download report. It's called the Outlook Report because we went to 29 of the brightest and smartest minds in technology and asked their opinions on the landscape, what was happening, how they were overcoming challenges, but more importantly, how they were smashing it right now. And we thought, given what's been going on with the pandemic, we should get that into a report, make it freely available to you all so you can all learn and mirror some of the things they're doing. Whether it's you just need a document to give you the thumbs up that everything you're doing aligns with best practice, or whether you need some insight into how some of the biggest and more creative brands out there are driving incremental success right now. I'm chuffed to say we're joined this morning by one of our authors, the brilliant Graham Stoker. Good morning, Graham. Graham is the Integrated CX Senior Campaigns Manager at Nutanix, so somebody that the agency has known for a very long time, and indeed worked with in the past at his former employer. So, Graham, thank you so much for joining us this morning to talk about the report.
My pleasure.
You joined 28 other tech marketing heads helping us write the CMO Outlook Report. I should say, if anyone wants to download it, I'll put the ticker tape at the bottom. But the easiest thing to do, hop on over to the Immediate Future website, click on the resources tab, and it's the very top report to download. But Graham, you joined 28 other marketing leads in helping us write the report. What have been your takeaways so far?
Well, I think the first thing to say is probably it's a bloody good timing to get a barometer from marketeers. The royal we have all had to probably find and flex a new marketing muscle, and we're probably still learning what that feels like and how to execute it. And I think the report absolutely reflects that. But for me, the three being that marketing magic number, the three that jumped out at me when I read the report seemed to be the common view around events that can't be physical, that now need to be virtual or virtually delivered, often now need to have a bit of a boutique flavour to them. Kind of theatre, almost to the point of elements of kind of circus, should be sewn in, and I'll probably touch on that in a few minutes' time. I love the comment in there from one of the contributors around "for webinar's sake," which I read as everyone used webinars by default, but then it became a challenging media, especially from the way that customers initially kind of leant forward and then very quickly said, "Hey, I've got fatigue here. You're bombarding me, guys." And actually, how that then pivoted to B2B. The report suggesting that B2B very much then thought, "Okay, let's view this through the eyes of ABM, or at the very least ABM Lite." That's the second one. And then I think the third one was the tech or technology, not just in terms of things like MarTech. I mean IT, how IT actually help companies in all industries either cope or actually in some cases, I'd say, evolve and become better as a result of ICT, I should say. And I think that really kicked in. With all the challenges that we saw last year, and maybe now have set a bit of a new norm.
The report, for the benefit of people who's not had a chance to download it yet, it surfaces 5 trends across technology. And Graham, we saw pretty much every participant in all their interviews seem to call out data insights and personalization as 2 important elements from your perspective, why are they key right now? Why are they important for marketeers?
Yeah, I mean, they're not new. I think that the environment that we hit as B2B marketers just really kind of puts, what's the word, shine a spotlight on them. My attitude as a campaign marketeer, and this seems to be supported by some of the literature I've been reading recently. I've got one I'm still working my way through called The Experience Economy by Joseph Pine and James Gilmore. And then there's another one over there around Chief Customer Officer 2.0, brilliant name. It, that, I think people really crave moments of delight and surprise. We do as consumers. Guess what? Customers do as B2B, followers of your brand or portfolio buyers or potential for, renewal or adoption of your technology. They want the same smiley moment that we crave. And I think last year really helped demonstrate that you got to get your thinking cap on how to answer that exam question. Data and therefore personalization, were kind of key to tackling that, I think. And there were some fantastic examples in the report and out there in the ether that we all saw last year of clearly very, very bright marketeers, flexing that new muscle and doing things that hadn't been done before. And the report's interesting because it talks to the fact that some of them were a little rusty around the edges because we as marketers were having to move so fast. But it was quite an exciting time to try new things and experiment.
It's a really interesting point there. COVID was almost a leveling of the playing field, wasn't it? And giving people confidence to go and try something, knowing that it might not necessarily be fully refined and fully polished as an outcome. And that's got to give marketers confidence to keep and innovating and building and refining, hasn't it?
One of my good friends and colleagues from old has a lovely strapline, which is, and he says he says it every year. It's a great time to be in marketing, and he will know who he is. And it's funny because he says it every year, and I think, well, hang on, is it actually, has it been a great time to be in marketing for every one of the last 10 years you've been saying that line? Aside from the fact he's a very positive chap, I get it now. Maybe a few years on, I suppose he's reflecting on the fact that every year brings a new tool, a new challenge, a new way of looking at the existing challenge, new martech that assists us, and that's in many ways the romance I think that we have with our industry.
Let's talk quality versus quantity. So as an agency, we do get brands coming to us with a kind of premeditated view of what they need for social media. We'll literally get companies come to us and say, can you quote me on creating me 20 posts in social a month? But they won't necessarily know what that content is, what those moments, but they've decided what an outcome is going to be. In your mind, when it comes to good content marketing, is quality the priority or is quantity needed?
What a question. I'm on a particular trajectory at the moment, and it sounds very cheesy, but bear with me because I'll make it less theatrical. I think it's about the Q and MQL. You're not about to turn off the tap of the traditional funnel that we all got taught at sim and college and university, etc. The Q and MQL for me is more or better explained by the concept of what I call breadcrumb trail. Was it Hansel and Gretel? I can't remember, but one of those talk to not making sure that the path you've walked. Well, think of that from the customer's perspective. As marketeers, if we have an ever-increasing better view through good MarTech of the pathway customers and prospects have walked versus the one thing they just did, that's a good thing. No one would ever deny that. So if you take the concept of breadcrumb trail and the Q in MQL forward just one step further, I can see a place where we're moving to where, and I'll use a little Sherlock Holmes analogy. You know, Holmes never turned up and said, "I've decided who did it, and it's because of this one piece of evidence." You know, that doesn't happen in any of those brilliant stories. He like Poirot and Agatha Christie and all the others. Who's the other one I really like? Jonathan Creek. They're cleverly watching all the breadcrumbs, and they're turning up with a case file of evidence. And I think that's a really exciting future state for marketing and the sales relationship. We're always trying to become closer. We're always trying to understand each other better. And I have no doubt that through MarTech, data, segmentation, personalization, amazing experience that delight and surprise, there'll be more breadcrumb, there'll be better MarTech to present it, and there'll be case files of evidence of journey that will make for fantastic engagement between the marketing and sales communities. And that's quite an exciting thing about where we're headed.
I love that. We at IF we talk a lot about the importance of nudge, nurturing, and audience in content sets. And I think we've said on Serious Social Live a number of times. I mean, LinkedIn themselves are now advocating that you need 5 to 9 touch points to actually drive meaningful conversion, which just adds credence to this sort of be more Sherlock philosophy and creating dossiers for your customers. I suspect we'll see that as a quote for you. I can see some comments coming through to that effect already. I love this. When we were talking during your interview, and for the benefit of people watching, pulling this report together. We were blessed with the contributors giving us really valuable time. But the co-producers ourselves at Immediate Future and Copy House, literally thousands of hours was spent pulling this together. Hundreds of hours was spent doing the interviews. And in your initial interview, you referenced the adventurer, Ed Stafford, and a quote that he makes, "Learn to accept your environment and you can thrive." What did you mean by that? And how did you use it as inspiration within your marketing?
Yeah, and apologies to Ed, not that I know him personally, but if I didn't get his quote completely right, I'm sure I got the sentiment. Ed Stafford, if anyone doesn't know, he's a bit of a dude. He is one of these people that puts themselves in situations that people have never done before. So he walked. I still can't actually believe he did it. He walked from the source of the Amazon to its tributary delta on the other side of the Americas. I think it took him something like approaching 3 years. He allowed 9 months or something. He put himself on an island, stark at the word naked, no water, no knife, no clothes, no sun cream, no LinkedIn, right? And survived and then thrived for 3 months. And he used this phrase about, or he talked to this idea that you've got to look at the environment, however much it has changed, and you certainly can't fight it. And in many ways, the more you embrace it, the more you connect with it, and it becomes more part of you and the way you think. And he really mastered that. Anyone that knows me know I'm pretty big on Star Wars, so he's kind of Jedi'd it basically. And I think as a marketeer, going back to like the original last year and your amazing report, I personally felt like last year was like taking the hat off that I'd been wearing for a while and putting a slightly different hat on, wearing it slightly different as well. So I think those two kind of random stories kind of go together. I also think, and I mentioned this earlier, last year was exciting in what I call permission to experiment. And I think, some of the best companies out there, B2B, have recognized that to give their teams, continued grace to experiment and to try and see what some of the newer techniques of engaging customers, and coaching them towards opportunities to engage on product or service discussions. That's just such a healthy environment to be in. Unlike Ed on the island or walking the Amazon.
He definitely had the tougher environment to thrive within, to be fair, didn't he? So the free to download report has more than 50 pages of insight, which some people would think it is a lot. But again, we wanted to create this big reference tool that people could constantly be coming back to. I know you've been particularly busy in the past week, but has there been a trend or a piece of insight that really piqued your interest?
Yeah, there was a piece within the report that I was slightly biased towards, because it was one of my friends and ex-colleagues, and the great Andrea Clapworthy was talking about somewhat going back to basics. She's always talking about ABM. She's passionate about it. She was highlighting, with the challenge that we had last year, the fact that it did provide an opportunity to listen, and actually engage customers and uncover from them and with them, not just the aspects that they're interested in, but how they want to receive information, and even more so, the format that's going to work best for them. And I thought that was a very astute, quite a simple observation, but we sometimes get excited and absorbed in creating something that's very clever, in the hope that it will engage. And sometimes it's intuition versus insight. And one of my mantras is insight versus intuition. People have heard that before. So I thought that was a really good reminder of don't get too clever, don't get too absorbed in the next big X. Your customers are just an arm reach distance away. Listen to them, talk and listen to them, and work harder to uncover what that value exchange might be, because it might not be the same in 2021, 2022 that it was in 2020 and pre-COVID days. So check, as a fisherman, there's a phrase: check your lines. Don't assume they're all correct and with the correct bait and lures. Go back and check those lines. See if the value exchange you've thought about and are maybe cultivating is the right one, not based on your best guess. Take some insight from your customers. I really like that comment from Andrea.
Yeah, very good advice. I think there's a whole host of people throughout the immediate future business that will wholeheartedly agree with your endorsement of Andrea. Andrea Clapworthy is at Fujitsu, and she's one of the contributors in the report that you can download. Graham, you probably won't know this, but we've been doing live interviews. I looked at this. 2016 was the first time we did an interview together, and pretty much every year since then we've been doing live interviews. Throughout that, I've always ended the segment with the same question. People love a bit of foresight, so I've always asked you, looking ahead, what do we think is going to be the next big thing, making it pertinent to today's discussion, obviously context of the report. What are the areas that you think marketers will need to continue to innovate and develop around to maintain incremental success?
Well, firstly, I can't believe it's that amount of time. And secondly, you're going to need to get some new questions and maybe some new jokes, Colin, if you're still hanging on to the same ones. I mean, that's actually quite a hard one to answer, like, the big thing that's coming. I don't think there is a big thing coming. I think I would reiterate something I said earlier. I tend to want to believe and see happening that MarTech and better MarTech, data and its ability to segment and better understand from a personalization, and newer forms of customer experience that do delight and surprise, feel like they're all heading in the same direction, same trajectory, same line of sight. I believe, and I want to believe, that little cocktail of those three things in particular will basically speed up the sales and marketing closeness in terms of relationship. I think they breed insight versus intuition. They breed customer-centric marketing, data-driven behaviors, listening versus guessing. And they also, as a creative marketer, I'm excited to say, I think they also pave the way for ever more creative style and execution. Sales and marketing always want to come together. They don't always quite know how to do it in a way that is natural and organic. And I think MarTech, data, and CX are pulling us towards that in a very healthy way. That's what I'd say.
It's fascinating. I guess if you've got all that information and it's working in unison, that's going to inform everything that you do for the better. What you create, how you create it, where you publish it. To your point, how you're distributing with your customers, it's going to deliver far more potency across that whole landscape, and I suppose give you more ammunition to create these dossiers of touch points for your sales teams to then pick up and go and turn the MQLs into those all important SQLs that we all chase.
Yeah, agreed. It's as to sound like a broken record, as somebody clever than me once said, it's an exciting time to be in marketing.
Well, I think that's possibly the best point to end on. And I'm sure you've made a few people smile this morning with your comments, guys. If anyone has questions for Graham and what he's been doing, both at his time evolved with Fujitsu and more recently with Nutanix, he won't thank me for saying this, but Graham really is one of the more creative marketers out there, and he pushes the boundaries with what's possible within technology marketing. So if you've got questions, we'll connect you up and get them addressed for you. Equally, to call out the report one last time, go to the Immediate Future website and the resources tab, you can download it. And I believe, in fact, if you on LinkedIn, Belle Lawrence, there you go, she put this up on LinkedIn. There's a simple to click on tab for you. Thank you very much for watching. There's another Serious Social next week. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And Graham, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Pleasure.
Take care. Bye-bye.